Greetings, class, and welcome to week 4 of CIS 4710, Information Security. This week we're going to be covering chapter 4 in footprinting and reconnaissance. So, what we're going to be looking at this week is OSINT, or Open Source Intelligence, footprinting, website intelligence, some technical intelligence, along with port scanning, privacy, confidentiality, some data analysis, and vulnerability scanning. So open source intelligence covers freely available information that you can garner off of the web through regular everyday tools such as Google or other search engines, and other types of tools such as NSLookup, Whois, and the like. So companies a lot of times put a lot of information into their websites and their web applications that one can use from an intelligence gathering perspective and eventually use against the company or garner additional information from them. So there's nothing illegal about this, because if you put the information out onto the internet and it is freely available, it is there for all to see. So the other thing that are out there that you can gain information on companies, especially if they're publicly traded companies, is the Edgar service, the Edgar database, and a lot of other e-commerce sites, albeit Amazon, for example, has gotten a lot better about this, but still eBay and Alibaba and other big e-commerce sites, their affiliates, they leak a lot of information on them through their apps and through their web pages. So there's also domain registration, domain registrars that you can gain information from in similar fashion to the Edgar service that is done by the Securities and Exchange Commission. You have a lot of information that you can pull from, say, Aaron or Ayana about a company, including their address, their technical contact information, their URLs, all the domains that they own, etc. Regional internet registers like Aaron, which we use here in North America, or AppNic in Asia, they have gotten a lot better about releasing this information and have allowed companies to curtail this information or obfuscate this information so it's a little bit better hidden. Well, systems and tools such as this are very easy for people to use to gain and garner information. People are sometimes the best source of information, and different types of collection tools can be designed or used directly against employees, executives of companies, or individuals themselves. The most common and obvious are social media interactions that you can gain information from individuals typically off their LinkedIn page in the business world, or in private world, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. And what you can also look at this is job sites. They can provide a lot of information about how to target a company just by what types of people they're trying to hire. Are they trying to hire system administrators? Are they trying to hire engineers? Are they trying to hire salespeople? And social engineering, just going back to that real quick, is a big problem from a standpoint of information leakage. to the point where companies are now starting to educate their workforce. For example, you can look at the way that Facebook, I think they actually outline this in your book on page 99, where they can actually use location information against you and identify where you are, where you've been, where you're going, etc. And this is a big problem, but once you are armed with that information, you can turn off things such as location services on your mobile devices and no longer have to worry about having that used against you or having that data, especially the metadata, collected against you. So regional internet registries, they talk about this again. These are the different types of registrants that will use and collect information on domains that you have registered, what IPs that they are associated with, your A records, your MX records, and your DNS systems. And you can use NS lookup and especially whois to get information about public domains. So this is just a really good kind of trivial test question area. The RERs, the registries, and know that they are broken up into regions. So we have ARIN, which is what we're going to fall under in North America, RIPE, which is European, AFRINIC, which is for Africa, LATNIC, which is for Latin America, South America, and Asia Pacific, or APNIC, which is for Asia Pacific and Oceania. Oceania being like New Zealand and Australia. So going into the domain name system, if you do not have a firm understanding of DNS by now, it's time to catch up. So you should understand what a fully qualified domain name is and how it is associated with an IP address, how it gets associated with an IP address. FQDN would be the full URL up to the .com or .edu or .gov, the last part of it. So all of the preceding information, such as www.wiley.com, as they give in their example, or local.www.wiley.com or test.www.wiley.com. Those subdomains would be part of your fully qualified domain for that specific domain. Queries of DNS are recursive, meaning you ask your local DNS server, it asks its root server for the top level domain information, and then the next server for the next level of detail, and so on, and so on, and so on. So it has a hierarchical structure. It resolves host names to IP addresses, obviously, and can also resolve IP addresses to host names. That's a reverse lookup. And other resources that it can use to find mail or authorities, things of that nature, are also leveraged by the DNS system. There are a lot of tools that you can use with DNS, and again, you can garner a lot of information that's freely available. This is all what is referred to as passive footprinting. Footprinting comes in two flavors, passive and active, and 90+% of footprinting is passive, meaning you're not interacting with anybody, you're not doing anything illegal, you are just getting information that is readily available. You just have to go look for it. So NS lookup, which is a query system for getting records off of DNS servers. other types of DNS tools that will help look up host names. Dig, which is a good utility that can be used to query any type of record or resource from any server that leverages DNS to find that information. And web-based tools also exist for these tasks. Again, passive reconnaissance is the primary way that we look at gaining information from the internet, from domains, from your web servers, or from the company's web servers. And you can get OS information as well a lot of times. Just a simple query to the web server will help you identify what type of web service is running. Is it an Apache service? Is it a Tomcat service? Is it an IIS service? And then from there you can garner, well, I'm looking at a Linux platform, I'm looking at a Windows platform. POF is also a utility that will watch network traffic and provide details about network traffic passing by. Other passive tools that you can use are local proxies, such as Burp Suite. Again, all you're doing is taking the information that is passing from your browser to the web server and dumping it into a file or into a collector for analysis. The data's there. You just have to kind of look underneath the hood to view it. All right, so website intelligence revolves around going in a little bit deeper, and as I said, tools using proxies such as Burp Suite or even OWASP Zap can be used to gain this information, such as browsing websites where we can find hidden information in headers or footers. Other types of information that can provide details as to the backend platform, such as, is it a PHP platform, is it a Java platform, .NET, etc. Then we can ascertain what types of versions that are being used. And in that fashion, we can then compare or garner version information and then understand, well, is there a vulnerability in that version? And from that standpoint, we can then start doing a little bit deeper analysis as to the threat posture of that platform. Also, plugins can be used in browsers to gather and analyze other types of web application information, typically JavaScript or Python script, things of that nature. Source code can also provide frameworks and libraries about those platforms. So you can dive into potential libraries and threats from those libraries, from those APIs in .NET or PHP. Google hacking, the book goes into this a little bit, and this is a newer concept where we can use a lot of scripts within the Google search engine itself to gather information about a company, a person, a organization. And in doing that, again, completely legal. You're just using the tool there. You're using the information that is on the site or associated with the company and just pulling it up. It's no different than using a query in a database. And since you're working for organizations, you might have one domain or maybe have a small handful of domains. It's important that you kind of do this on your own companies to find out what actually is out there, what is seen. And then you can look at curtailing this information by pulling it off of your servers or pulling it out of your domain, your area of control. Next, we're going to come to the Internet of Things, and IoT is a newer area of interest, and that's because many of the manufacturers of IoT devices have not done a very good job traditionally of locking those devices down. They have administrative portals or administrative shells into the devices with no password or even no username and password. You can get direct access to the kernel. This is getting better, and in particular, we're seeing states such as California starting to pass laws requiring these manufacturers to put security controls in them, such as a password and the ability to, or the requirement to, I should say, to change passwords on devices at their first startup out of the box. So millions of devices around the world could be classified as an IoT device. Smart TVs, digital cameras, closed CCTV cameras, the personal ones that you can get at Fry's or Best Buy to put on your house. They can also be your refrigerator, your toaster, who knows. They have limited functionality as far as input and output, but they have security flaws. Some of them have had security flaws where they can be taken over and used as a zombie for things such as a DOS attack. And they mentioned the thingful.net domain URL that actually holds a database of IoT devices, different types of IoT devices. Check that out. That was actually a pretty good read, very interesting. And Shodan.io also has a database of IoT devices. Shodan is also used extensively for a lot of bug bounty work by ethical hackers who have permission to go and find bugs for companies and get paid for it. So wrapping up the lecture this week, kind of a short lecture, but we need some time to finish up Lab 1 for sure. Basically, footprinting and reconnaissance are very important activities overall as a first step to the methodology that we use for ethical hacking. And this is a beginning stage where you collect a lot of data and you have a lot of information to analyze and massage for putting together your attack plan. Understand the tools that you have at your disposal to do this footprinting. It's gathered from many different directions, including social engineering, Google, registries, simple tools that have been in Linux and Windows forever, such as DNS Lookup or Whois. Know about the DNS structure and how it provides IP addresses from host names and doing that in reverse. Understand what Google hacking is and how you can use keywords and switches and variables in the Google search engine to garner a lot of information. And last but not least, we talked about Internet of Things, IoT devices that can be found using sites such as Thingful or Shodan in order to garner information about IoT devices. And IoT devices are typically sought after by pen testers, ethical hackers, because a lot of times they're an easy attack vector into a company. Also know that most of your footprinting is passive in nature, in that we don't have to do any interaction or aggressive interaction with a company from a standpoint of vulnerability scans or port scans, but we basically garner that information from open sources. There is active footprinting. This is typically where you're getting more involved person to person, where you may call in and do some limited social engineering with those individuals. So just real quick, let's take a look at week 4 here and go over the syllabus. So in week 4, homework 2 is due at the end of the week. That is your antivirus homework. And then lab 1 is also due at the end of the week, and that is the lab on the Windows box. I'll be going over that extensively in the Thursday class, in the second half of the week class, if you will. And we'll also look at my course documents here. We also have the walkthrough. So I've been doing the walkthroughs for Lab 1 over the last few weeks. These are still good. They're still relevant. You can leverage those. So that's going to wrap it up here for week 4 in 4710. I hope you found it interesting. Next week, we'll go into more of a scanning, a reconnaissance posture, and we'll take it from there. So this is Professor Brown signing off. Have a great week, everybody.